Hello and welcome back to RugbyPass Offload with me, Christina Mahon. And today I'm joined by Simon Zebo and Jamie Roberts. And this episode is brought to you in partnership with the famous Grouse, the official whiskey of the British and Irish Lions. And to celebrate the spirit of rugby, we are joined by England and Lions legend Jack Nowell to analyse this weekend's action and to chat through his incredible career to date. Welcome to the show, Jack.
How are you doing? Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for coming on. And Jamie, I know we were a little bit late starting off because you were a little bit busy just before we kicked off this podcast because there's some pretty awesome news that's just broken. Do you want to fill us in?
Yeah, no, it's just news around the Lions and tour in South Africa. Just in this was news. Brilliant news. I'm delighted they've announced it's going to happen in South Africa, fans or not. That's obviously subject to change over the next few months. But I think both the Lions and South African Rugby Union have committed now that it's going to happen in South Africa. And I think it's brilliant. I think what matters most to the Lions is tradition and history and all that. So, Jack has toured with the Lions as well, knows how special it is for it to be a touring team and play away from home. The thought of it being in the UK never quite sat well with me when that idea was being chucked around. But I guess loads of factors at play. But now they've made a decision. It's done. It's happening in South Africa, and players can now look ahead to selection in just over a month. Jack, are you going to be fit? Are you in the mix?
I'm definitely going to be fit. Whether I'm in the mix with the lack of rugby I've played recently, but I'll do all I can to get selected, I think.
Happy day. How far off are you, mate?
I'm hoping only another couple of weeks now. Obviously, I had a bit of a setback halfway through. But that was kind of my fault. But I'm nearly there now. I think I'm a couple of weeks away. I've been running now for the last few days. So this time I've been told I've got to take it easy and make sure I'm 100% before playing again.
Happy days, mate. Just tell us about your padded walls behind you.
It's very you have a very cool setup going on.
This is my man cave. This is my man cave.
That's the man cave, is it?
Yeah. Obviously, we're living with 3 girls now. I've got my 2 little ones and obviously my missus. I needed a room in the house, so it was just for the lad stuff. So this is my area that no one's allowed in.
Interesting taste. No comment.
All right, well, guys, we'll kick off the show with this. We have to talk about Super Saturday because it just did not disappoint, and we'll get stuck in straight to the France-Wales game. I feel like they saved the best for last, didn't they? Jamie, what's the reaction been like in Wales?
Unbelievable test match, first and foremost. Like, as a Welsh fan, as a French fan, as a neutral, like I haven't seen a game like that in a long time, and I don't think we will for a long time. With what was on the line, there may be test matches like that, every couple of years, but with what was on the line at that moment, that last 10 minutes was just outrageous. And obviously devastation for Wales, brutal to lose in the 81st minute. And 2 yellow cards in the last 10 minutes didn't help them, but it took France a red card to start playing. If they would have played like that throughout the whole 80, I think they perhaps sort of won convincingly. But just a brilliant game. Wales won't be happy with that last 10 minutes. They made quite a few poor decisions in their kicking game and kick chase, and certainly their contact area discipline was poor, which cost 2 yellow cards. But fabulous game of rugby, and the Six Nations doesn't disappoint. And I guess it came off the back of 2 earlier fixtures. Scotland played Italy. That was always going to be a heavy result in Scotland's favour, as most teams have done that to Italy. And then I didn't see that Ireland England score coming. Obviously, Jack is probably best placed to talk about that. But brilliant final day of the Six Nations.
But Jamie, do you think that France did deserve to come out on top? Like, were they the better side overall, or do you think that it was just that the red card just had to force them to play better?
Over the course of the game, I think it was pretty square, and the scoreline reflected that. I was just amazed how passive France were in defence. I watched that game, and they were just conceding yards. And on one hand, I'm thinking, right, Wales' attack is really good, and they're carrying really strong. They're making momentum all the time. And I'm watching France's defence, and I'm like, they have not defended like that all campaign. I just found they were quite passive. It looked like they were really scared of conceding penalties, especially in that middle third of the pitch. They didn't even want to risk giving away penalties and giving Wales a foothold in their 22. So, fascinating to watch. And the cards changed everything. I was sat in the studio doing the game. We were all watching it with 70 minutes on the clock, just thinking, oh, Wales have got the slam. It's amazing. They've won out in Paris, like, job done, brilliant. And then only sport can do that. That last 10 was just crazy. But as I said, as a neutral, watching that game is pure excitement.
Well, now, after the game, according to Fabien Galthié, Wales got Willemse sent off, and this is something they specialise in. So, Jamie, are there any truth behind those claims?
No, bullshit. He's just looking for less of a ban for Paul Willemse, I think. Look, regardless of whether it was on purpose or not, he's made contact with the eye area. So, yeah, it's a red card for me. A few years ago, that doesn't get picked up on the cameras. And it's just a normal clean. Players are moaning at the ref, and the ref didn't see it, and what have you. But you can't do that now. You just cannot do it. And as I said, regardless, I doubt it was on purpose. But still, he's made contact with the eye area, cleaning a guy out. It's dangerous. I think World Rugby can't be seen not to sanction behaviour like that. Whether Wales milked it, does it really matter? It's still a red card. Regardless, Luke Pearce isn't gonna give a red card if Wales appeal or not. It's not the crack. That's not in the dangerous play algorithm, is it? When he's asking the questions, did Wales appeal or not? That's completely besides the point. So I don't quite get Galtier's comments on that. It was a straight red. Here we are. Zeebs is on. His name on screen is Boulanger.
Hey guys, sorry.
Hello.
How are you getting on? Sorry, I was just off the training park and I rushed home, so I'm sorry.
Well, look, we'll move on to the game that we've wanted to talk about. So obviously Ireland did an absolute job on England in Dublin on Saturday, and England now look to be finishing 5th place. So after a great performance against France the week previous, England were pretty much poor in every facet of Saturday's game. Jack, how surprised were you by this?
Useless.
Oh, what was the question?
How surprised were you by how bad England were?
It's been tough. It has been a tough one for England. You can't go away from that. I know it would be very, very different how the boys would be talking in camp to how it looks from the outside. We obviously didn't get off to the best of starts either, but I think it is very, very simple. We did lose those games, but England are not a bad team. We don't have bad players. We actually have very, very good players, and it's just unfortunately that it didn't go with us this time. I think penalties, I think a lot of people say it, I think penalties are definitely the biggest thing that we need to work on as a team, and I'm sure they were saying that as well. Like Jamie said, at the start, you can change a game very, very easily by a couple of penalties. It can swing a whole game, especially international. You rarely see over 4 tries in a game. It's always decided by 1 or 2 or a few points. So, if you're giving away 7-8 penalties in one of the halves, you're going to be pinned in your 22. Pressure's going to build. And at the end of the day, every team you play against are going to be good at that level, and they're going to score, and they're going to know how to score. So, I don't think England helped themselves at all. But there were good signs of it as well. When England started running the ball a little bit more, and we played with ball in hand, we looked dangerous. We had some good spells, but no, I'm pretty sure it's a bit of another building phase for the team, and it's one they'll definitely learn from.
Is it time for a shake up to the English squad, do you think?
I hope not, because I want to play again. So.
Yeah,
you've been out for a while, so chunk you back in.
They're missing me. That's
the reason. There we go.
No, I don't know. I think there obviously are. The Premiership is a very, very good league, and I think there's some class players that aren't there. But at the end of the day, there's some class players that are in that squad that we know are class. Billy V would hold his hands up straight away and see. He's not had the best of tournaments, but we know that everyone knows watching, everyone knows that played with him, that he is a world-class player still. So you're never going to be able to drop someone like that. Owen Farrell, George Ford, Ben Young's like this. Everyone knows they're very, very good players. So I just think it was a bad stage for the lads that are playing, and I'm there are players that could be in there that would do a job as well, but there are players that have earned their stripes there that we know that can still do a good job.
And it's not like you have a very, your age profile, the squad isn't an old team. You have a lot of youth and quality in there. I'd agree with you. And in between World Cups, team's form always fluctuates a little bit. You can never be on it, you know, every campaign in between World Cups. So I'd agree with you. I don't think you need to change a massive amount. I think you're an unbelievably dangerous team, and when you click, you're one of the best teams in the world. I've seen getting to a World Cup final, you know. So get you back in there, and you're good to go.
I hope so, mate.
Exactly. That's the answer. That's the answer.
I just need 80 minutes of rugby, mate, and I'll be happy again.
Yeah.
So, Jack, question to you. You mentioned, you talked about you believe in a Polis, Farrell, Youngs, and you said you're never going to drop players like that. See, I disagree with you. Where is the pressure on those guys? Because, like, you know, we've all been in test environments. When you're competing for a jersey, it brings out the best of you. And your teammates will tell you it brings out the best in them as well. Getting a Sam Simmons, getting a Marcus Smith in that squad to shake things up, do you think that would have a positive effect on the environment? So those lads feel under pressure. They feel under pressure for their jerseys. Because for me, watching as a Welshman, I watch them from the outside, it doesn't feel like those lads are under pressure for their positions.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It is different. Like every player is different. Right? Every player, you do get the best from someone with someone just being on your heels. Someone being, you know, just behind you, ready to take your shirt. But then other boys do like that almost trust of, you know, you will go through different stages, but I'll back you. I'll put you out there. I'll give you, you know, your chance to play well again. I think that does come from your side of your effort and what you put in. You know, the coaches see you in training, and if you're like that during training, during the week, you're not pushing yourself in the gym, you're not pushing yourself recovery, you're not pushing yourself on the field training. No, I think that's definitely maybe a sign that someone needs to come in and maybe give you a bit of a, you know, kick up the ass. But at the same time, it's not always going to happen to you on the field. But if you're trying all the time, then it's a bit different. But yeah, I think when you're saying with boys like that, like you said, Simmer, he 100% knows what he needs to be doing. Pretty much exactly what he's doing now. I was
going to say, can he do much more?
Yeah.
All those
Jack,
boys
do you know if Eddie's been in contact with Sam Simmons at all?
Yeah, he has. I think he has. Again, I don't really speak too much to them, but I know he's had a couple of phone calls, and I know he's definitely knocking on the door, and he's very close to being there. But again, I think Eddie's, you know, pretty straightforward of what he needs to do. He knows that there are other boys just in front of him. But in terms of Simmer, what he needs to do, he knows that he just needs to carry on playing well for us and doing what he's doing, because, you know, everyone watching knows that what he's doing is class. Our coaches know it. He's winning games by himself sometimes for us. So when you start trying to change stuff, trying to please other people as well to try and get yourself in there, you know, it's a bit different. But with what he's doing, I know he's very close, but he just kind of almost needs to just not drop off. He just needs to keep going.
I can't bet on rugby, but I think he's a smart bet for the Lions tour.
Sam
Simmons.
You've got a good feeling about him, haven't you?
100%.
I rate him. I think he's a wonderful rugby player, and it would not surprise me one bit if Gats picks him ahead of Billy for the Lions.
But I'd have him starting, you know, like straight into the starting 15. Like his form for the last year and a half has been outrageous, you know.
He's unbelievable. He does some stuff like, even in training, you're like, he does some stuff that a back row shouldn't be able to do. Do you know what I mean? His feet he's got, his hands, he's very good. He's strong. Like, he's not the biggest of fellas, and he'd say that as well, but he's definitely one of the quickest. He's probably one of the quickest in our team. And he's definitely, when he's got his ball in his hand, he's not very gym strong. I know he wants to try and work on that a bit, but in terms of on the pitch, mate, he's ridiculous.
That's very good. Yeah. Watch his space. We'll see.
Yeah. But how bad would that look for Eddie if Sam did get the call up to the Lions squad ahead of his
Well, that's the thing. The game is about opinion. Like, I think when you get a bit older in your career, you realise that more and more. The game is all about opinions of players, you know, us as players, opinions of coaches probably matter more, because whether they pick you or not. The opinions of the press and the opinions of fans, you know, it revolves around opinion. And, you know, there's so many great players out there who have never played Test rugby because a coach doesn't rate them. There's so many brilliant players, you know, I guess other players who have gone on to have really successful Test careers who weren't actually that good, like myself. So it's all on opinion. Like, you know, you might be in favour, you might not be in favour. And at the minute, like, it's just, you know, Eddie Jones, his opinion on Sam Simmons isn't a good one. It's not good enough to be in that England side. And it baffles a lot of people, but That's why Eddie Jones is in his job, and that's why he gets paid the money he does.
Anyway, moving on. So Stephen Jones wrote in his column that Ellis Genge is incredibly overrated. Is that a fair comment at this point in time, Jack?
No.
I don't think. Ellis Genge, again, I'm a good friend of him. I think he's a top bloke, and it's hard because from the outside, if you don't know him, maybe you could have that opinion. But I've seen what he can do on the field, and I've seen what he can do off the field. But I think what he adds is something you can't really teach. He's like almost like a ball of anger that, you know, as soon as he gets his ball in his hand, he's trying to run through whatever's in front of him. And, you know, you can't get that in some players. It's very hard to do. But for me personally, if I look back to some of his best years, a few years ago, he was a bit younger, but, you know, some of his stuff he's done in the Premiership, you know, running over Dylan Hartley. I know he likes.
Yes.
And I know
I like this.
He always likes to replay it as well. You know, he's got that streak in him, and I think it's just trying to find it and just trying to get it out and giving him the chance to get it out, because he knows he's got a few bits to work on as well. But that passion and that anger on the field sometimes is uncoachable. So to have that and to have that on your team, because he will do anything for you, you know, on the field. He'll look after you out there. So to have that in a player beside you, I think is pretty special.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think we all saw what he did on the pitch on Saturday when he kind of continuously elbowed Johnny Sexton in the face. I know Johnny asked for it to be looked at by the ref, but the ref said no, he'd look at it after the game. So Zebo, what did you make of that incident? Because Johnny looked furious.
Yeah, and rightly so. I can understand completely why Johnny was furious. But as Jack said, Ellis, you can tell, you know, by playing against him and watching him play, he's a player that plays on the edge, you know, and in international rugby, you have to have a certain level of aggression, especially if you're in the front row. You know, they're half mad half the time, all those lads playing in the front row. So you have to have that aggression, and a lot of players play on the edge, and Ellis would definitely be one of them. Obviously, the ref didn't look at it or pick it up. In my eyes, obviously, it's a straight red card. You know, you see guys getting sent off for way less. But he didn't get sent off, and that's the way it went. You know, it's unfortunate for Johnny. Sure, he was disappointed with the ref's decision. Him and Matthew Reynal don't have the best relationship. But yeah, those things, you know, can happen. You know, players playing in the heat of the moment, they react different ways. And, you know, I'm sure he knows that it was kind of stupid, or his coaches would have told him, you know, you could have gotten a red card there and made us play the rest of the game with 14 men. So, you know, it's
Are they holding him down though? Like this, I've watched this clip, and I'm pretty convinced Johnny's being quite smart. He's holding him down, stopping him getting to that ruck. Streetwise Johnny Sexton, we all know, and he's just giving him a bit of an elbow rub in the face. He hasn't struck him in the face with an elbow. He's kind of rubbed his face. It's like basically doing something annoying and someone grabbing you by the back of your head and rubbing your face in the dirt. It's not illegal, potentially foul play, but it's just roughing him up. Or am I wrong?
I thought, you know, his elbow, you know, Johnny's head wasn't, you know, lying on the ground the whole time. So if Johnny's lifting his head a little bit and Ellis smashes his elbow into his head and he hits the ground then behind him, that can knock you out. You know, I've seen lads get knocked out for less. Now, I'm sure Johnny knows exactly what he's doing. You can't see the camera angle where his hand is probably holding Ellis down.
Exactly.
You know, and he knows, he's a smart guy. He knows that Ellis plays on the edge and he could be a hot head and something like that could happen. But, you know, for the ref not to look at it or do anything is a bit strange when you see guys getting sent out for, you know, bad clean-outs when there's no ill intention. And then, you know, you see something like that, even though, you know, at the end of the 80 minutes, Ellis would probably approach Johnny and maybe apologise or, you know, not mean him any ill will. It's within the 4 lines during 80 minutes, but those things happen. Strange one for me.
Yeah,
you never see Simon Zebo behaving like that on rugby.
No, God, no.
Seems to never get into a fight. But
No.
is this somewhere, like, is this something that you'd actually like to see the introduction of the captain's challenges for the TMO? Just say, take that as an example. Is that where you'd like to see this brought in?
Potentially, yeah. You know, if it could seriously impact the game. If England go down to 14 men, imagine Ireland are losing the game by 5 points. And that's, if the tournament or the championship's on the line and Ellis gets sent off, that's a huge swing in the game. And that could be a Six Nations to one team or the other. So it might be a good idea. You know, you don't want a challenge getting called for every little thing that happens in a game. That would ruin the game as well at the same time. So it's a fine line. It's a hard one to nail, that one as well. So I don't know what you think, guys.
Yeah, I think Ellis Genge he does put on the end. Jack knows him better than all of us. So He obviously plays on edge. He's a tough player, uncompromising, just brings it, doesn't he, emotionally, which you can't coach, and is 95% of what we do. He brings it to a level probably more than a lot of other players. But I think he's quite lucky to get away without a penalty. Like, you can't do that. Like, regardless of whether it's a card or not. If he locks it out on replay, that's a minimum a penalty for doing something like that, especially the game we're playing nowadays.
Yeah, I'd love to I'd love to play with him. What a player, man. I played against him here at the arena, and he carried about 4 wrestling lads on his back for 40 meters, and we were all just like, what the hell, this guy's amazing. But he was one of those guys who plays on the edge, and you want to play with a guy like that. He's a class player, but sometimes it's hard to get it right all the time, and obviously he didn't get it right there, but was lucky to get away without a sanction.
Oh my God, he was so lucky. Didn't he call Johnny a granddad or something as well?
Sure, I call Johnny a granddad all the time. Good on you, Ellis.
Well, look, Eddie Jones has come under fire to maintain his position as head coach by numerous pundits from Delalio to Sir Clive. So, guys, if you were in charge of the RFU, what would you do? And who would you replace him with if you had to make the call? Jamie, you're smiling, so I'm going to start with you.
I was going to say, you can't ask Jack that.
Ask Jack that.
Jack, if he's the chief executive officer of England Rugby, what would he do? There needs to be change. I don't think you can have a tournament like that, the reverse Triple Crown, and there not be change. That change doesn't necessarily have to be Eddie Jones. It can be coaches beneath him, or a fresh influx of some playing members of the squad in key positions. But there needs to be change, and I've no doubt there will be change. Or the way they try and play the game. I think the frustrating thing for me from England on the weekend, yes, they lost quite a few collisions and got bullied, but whenever they got some momentum in that middle third of the field, they just kicked the ball away. They kicked it away. They didn't kick to compete. They didn't kick with a good outcome. They just kicked the ball away. That just baffles me. Whether that's, the halfbacks having an off day or what have you, but I just couldn't get their playing philosophy. So something's going to change there. I don't think that's necessarily Eddie Jones losing his job and then replacing him with someone, but wouldn't surprise me if there's change in the coaching staff underneath him.
Surely he deserves another World Cup cycle after getting to the final, coming up against a class Springbok side. But yeah, it would be very, very, very tough on him if he lost his job in the middle of a transitional period for the team, I suppose. So yeah, I'd agree with you. I think it'll be an interesting year and a half for them. See how they go.
Yeah. So Jack, if you were chief executive for England,
I feel like you can't become with the same team pretty much. It's the same core of the team. You can't go from a World Cup final to then having an off Six Nations and then be called crap players or crap coaching setup. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work like that. It's only been a year and a half, 2 years tops. Like, other teams don't get that much better in that time with players that are still young and fresh and have that experience. So, I genuinely do think it was a bit off. I think, like we've said, you can change it. Something needs to change a little bit. Maybe that's the game plan. Maybe that is the amount of time that we kick the ball. But in a way, going forward now, I think kind of we've had our bad run. We've had a bad tournament. We've not nothing else to lose now. I think it's quite exciting that we can actually go out now and just think, we could just give it a go. And that's what I hope. Hopefully I'm there. Hopefully I'm fit to be playing. That I can go in and maybe have a bit of an impact. But do you know what? Let's just give it a go. Let's just run the ball around a bit. Let's just show what we've got. Because what more can happen now? Next year we could come sixth.
Yeah, the only way is up now.
That's the worst that can happen. So.
I was going to say the dream gig for Nowell. He's missed a bad run. He just walks in when the times are good.
You could just be the key to their success. Well, look, I want to talk about Ireland because they looked like a team reborn on Saturday, and they finally came alive in attack throughout the game. Sexton and Murray were back playing their best too. Steves, have they stuck their hands back up for Lions selection once more?
Yeah, I thought they were great. They weren't probably at their best at the beginning of the tournament, but the team wasn't. The team wasn't motoring as cohesively as they were towards the back end. So, Johnny and Connor were crucial to that game. They both played really, really well. And if you're going on form, then they're in form, and their hands are up for the Lions tour. they obviously play really well on the big days. They've been on tours before. So yeah, I don't see why not. They're probably the form pair at the moment, on the back of their win against England.
Conor Murray's proved me wrong. Like at the start of the season, I know Zeebs is good mates with the guy. The way I wanted to see Ireland play, and I think they're developing the game, kind of this Leinster model of really quick ball. Gibson Park comes in. They look like a team who's just moving with pace. And Conor's not that sort of player. He's very, very smart, as is Johnny Sexton. But against England, we saw him bring pace to Ireland's game and attack. Now, we haven't seen that from Conor Murray in a while. But I don't think anyone in Britain or Ireland can kick like him. No. I don't think any of the nines have got a kicking game like Conor Murray. And the way I think Warren Gatland will want the British Lions to play against the box, that is going to be basically above all else, is the kicking game. The way you beat the Springboks, you have to get that first and foremost. Obviously the physical side of the game, but your kick chase game has to be spot on. So halfback selection will, that part of the game will dictate who plays at 9 and 10 for the Lions. And Conor and Johnny are two of the best at it.
Well, look, CJ Stander was also unplayable in the back row. Siebes, are you surprised that he called time in his career?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I thought it was a strange one. He's at the peak of his powers, and he's been playing really, really well. And there's, as you say, there's a World Cup in a year and a half's time, or in 2023, which isn't that far away. So if you were going to call time, maybe that probably would have been a better time. If in a perfect world, but he has his reasons, and I wasn't in camp when he spoke to the team and laid out those reasons. So I presume it's family related, and he's things off the pitch that he are out of his control. So you respect it and you wish him all the best. He's been brilliant for Munster and Ireland. So he doesn't owe either team much more. He's been great. So wish him all the best, and salute him.
There was a moment in the game on Saturday. I think England messed up an attacking opportunity in Ireland's 22. They had an exit play, right? Ball comes off the top, and they gave it to CJ Stander. And you could see from about 10 metres away, he saw Billy Vunipola, Tom Curry, and he ran as fast as he could straight at Billy Vunipola and Tom Curry, right? And I kind of winced when I watched it. I was just like, oh my God, like this guy, you could see how much he was up for it. And he won the collision against those two. That says something about the bloke. Like, he as tough as it comes, CJ Stander. So I wish him the very best. In retirement. He's been a fantastic player for Ireland. But just on that little moment alone, I thought that kind of personified him as a player.
Well, look, now I know there is one more Six Nations game left, but surely Gatland has a pretty good idea of who is going to be starting for him this summer. So I know that Stephen Jones said that he'd only picked 2 Englishmen in Itoje and Farrell in his starting 15, and Clive Woodward's only contains 1 Irishman and 2 Scots. So Jamie and Zeebs, I want to hear who you have for your starting 15 for this first test.
My starting 15 would be on form. This is on Six Nations form, and the way I think they're going to want to play against the Springboks. Front row of Wyn Jones, Ken Owens, Ty Furlong. I think Wyn Jones.
Go away. 3 Welsh or 2 Welsh lads straight off the back.
Yeah, hang on. Hear me out now. I think Ken Owens is the best hooker. I think he's a form hooker. I think he's head and shoulders above the other hookers at the minute.
What about
Ty Furlong? Yeah, I just think Ken is set piece. I think he's at test level at that level. I think he's experienced. He's toured before.
I agree with you. Yeah,
I think it'll be between him and Luke. No doubt. I think they'll both tour. I think Jamie George will probably tour as well. And then tight head Ty Furlong. I think it'll be a shootout between him and Carl Sinclair. I just think in set piece, against the box, he's bigger. He just brings. Ty Furlong's been immense, actually. When he's played for Ireland this year. And I think Wyn Jones has surprised quite a few people. Not many would agree with me. At 1, players will probably go for Mako or Cian Healy, or even Ellis Genge is probably in the conversation as well. But Curry, Faletau for me in the back row. Keep laughing, Z.
No. I agree.
Are you going to pick the Irish pack, you?
No, I go for Cian Healy, Rob Herring, Tyke Furlong. I go for James Ryan, Ian Henderson. I know. I agree with you. It was some good calls. But I'd go with Mako. I'd go with probably Luke Cowan-Dickey and Tyke Furlong. I'd go with Ian Henderson in the second row with maybe someone like Marrow, even though he's not in the best of form right now. I'd say his ceiling is probably the highest of the second rows, you know. And then the back row, I really like Hamish Watson and Tom Curry. I think they're both playing really well. And I backed Sam Simmons to make the tour and start, so I reckon he should make it.
You think he's a test starter?
Yeah, why not? You know, it's rugby at the end of the day, and he's playing the best rugby at number 8, you know, so...
This is one of the beauties of a Lions tour, because if he does tour, a player like that could flourish in the opening tour matches, and all of a sudden you can't not pick him. So again, today's announcement, Lions tour South Africa, those provincial games come back into play, and players are allowed to play their place into that test side, which is awesome, because we'll see what players really come to the floor. It won't be about who played well in the Six Nations. It's about who is on tour and takes their opportunity in those opening games.
Oh, hang on, guys. Are you not doing 9 to 15 as well?
Yeah, all right.
I probably picked way too many English lads, considering they came 5th, did I?
Okay. Well, we're all backs, so let's talk about the backs.
Yeah.
I've got Connor and Johnny.
No, I'm going Connor and Biggs. I'm going Connor and Dan Biggett.
Yeah.
I think Dan Biggett's been on great form this campaign. I think tactically, he's up there with Johnny, but I just think he's just got a bit more in his running game and a bit more defensively than Johnny at the minute, which is going to be key against the Boks. You know, the Boks are coming at you at 9, 10, 12. They always have, always will. And so, I think Biggs defensively has been strong this year. And I'm going to go Connor. The way they're going to beat the Boks, I'm going to go Connor and Biggs. Zeebs?
I'd agree with you with Connor, and I would go Finn. I think Connor and himself, I think, will be a lovely blend, you know. I think they'd work really well together. Connor has an unbelievable pass. You know, he gets a lot of plaudits for his kicking, but I reckon his pass is even better, you know. I don't think he gets enough credit for how good his pass is. It's amazing. I've played on the end of it, and it's as fast a pass as anyone in World Rugby, I reckon. So to have Finn running onto the ball at 100 miles an hour, you know, pulling the strings, I think that would be a very exciting way to go after the Springboks. So yeah, they'd be my halfbacks.
Yeah, so in the midfield, look, when I look at players who put their hands up over the Six Nations, Robbie Henshaw stands out as the centre who's kind of really put his hand up, consistently delivered and played well. And he's the sort of player who will thrive against the Boks. Look, he's physical, he's attritional, he's a smart rugby player. So he's at 12 for me. I don't quite think Warren will go for kind of Farrell, a 10 and a Farrell at 12, kind of that dual playmaker against the Springboks. I think he's going to go for a physical midfield partnership. So I've gone Henshaw and George North at 13. I think, again, George is a test lion. He's a player who's thrived actually coming in a position in the midfield. And look, I think he's going to start in that test side. I just don't think it'll be on the wing. I think it's going to be at 13. There are obviously other midfielders in the conversation. You look at Ringrose, Jonathan Davis.
Manu?
There's two obvious... I don't think Manu's going to be fit, mate. Is he?
No, is he? Is he not? I don't know.
No, I mean he's been out. He's snapped his Achilles, so he's been out for a long time. So whether he'll be match fit or not. So look, it's the midfield is really hotly contested. I think they'll take 2 10s plus Farrell. So that's 2 10s of Bigger, Sexton, and Russell plus Farrell, and then they'll take 3 or 4 midfielders. Maybe one of those midfielders can play on the wing, a la George North as well. So. Look, it's a tough one, but to start, I've gone Henshaw North.
Steve, who have you gone with?
I agree with Robbie. Yeah, I actually agree with the centre partnership. Yeah, I think George has been in good form since he's made the switch into centre, and Robbie's been one of Ireland's best players. So they'd be the 2 standout guys in the centre for sure. And they, on the basis of the Six Nations, they'd be right up there.
It all depends how Gats is going to want to play. I mean, if he wants to, Farrell can easily slot in at 10 or 12, which, if he's not the right 10 to start, is he the right 12 to start? If not, brilliant option off the bench to control and, as a finisher, as they put it with England. I hate that word, Jack, by the way. Tell Eddie I hate the finisher too. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll take 2 10s, Anno and Farrell.
And then, the last three.
My back three, I have gone with Anthony Watson. I think Anthony has to start, and on the right wing. I'm going to go Josh Adams on the left wing. Again, there's a lot of calls for Lewis Rees-Zammit, but I think Josh's all-round game, his pace, his power, his defence, gives him the nod. And for me, it's a straight shootout between Liam and Stuart Hogg. And I just think Hoggy pips it because it's just ability, his counter-attacking ability, his ability with ball in hand. I think is unrivaled in the home except for Simon. Sorry, Simon. I just think he's great, and his long kicking ability. We saw Elliot Daly in New Zealand. Any of those penalties just in your half, Hoggy can kick those. So that could prove critical to winning as well. So I'm going Watson, Hogg, Adams, back three.
Yeah, I go back three. I'd pick Keith Earls on form on the left wing, and I would go with Anthony Watson on the right. And I think Liam Williams would be my fullback. He had a great tour last time. I thought he was excellent. He's been good in between or since the World Cup, and he's been playing well as well. I think he's a class operator, really good under the high ball, excellent counter-attack ability, really, really good tackler, good in defence. And he has that bit of flair, he'll do something out of nowhere. And I really like the way he plays. I think it's very close between him and Hoggy. Hoggy's been class too. Don't get me wrong. He's a match winner himself. But yeah, you could pick either or. My probable preference at the moment, Liam Williams probably just shades it. So yeah, I'd have the two of them definitely behind myself. Yeah.
So in partnership with the famous Grouse, the British and Irish Lions official whiskey, we're celebrating the spirit of rugby, especially the bond between players and fans across the 4 home nations. We asked you to send in your best line stories from over the years, and we've decided to pick Jamie Weatherspoon as the winner. So here is his story. In 2005, we were out watching the Lions tour, and we were attending the New Zealand Maori game in Wellington. At halftime, we decided to spice up proceedings. So me, my twin brother, and another friend decided to run the length of the pitch in our kilts. We all launched off the stand behind the posts in the ground in Hamilton and set out on our challenge. My brother immediately sprained his ankle on impact and fell to the ground. So then he had all the security guards jump on top of him as he was an easy target, which allowed me and Chris to make it to the halfway line before, sadly, the security dump tackled us to the ground. We were initially held by security, but not for long, as they were warmed to by our beautiful singing and charming behaviour. On that trip were 5 Scots, 2 English, and an Irishman. Lions fans coming together to have fun. So obviously, look, Jack, speaking of we've been talking about the Lions. We've just had the 2 boys pick their starting 15. So I want to know about the fans. How amazing were the Lions fans on your tour?
Yeah, I obviously think they're a class. It's weird, isn't it? Because we've played for so long now without fans. Some boys have done it right and they don't mind it, whereas other boys are starting to get to the end now where they're a bit like, I just want to play in front of my family. I want people there watching. And you can't recreate that atmosphere. That atmosphere when you're in that stadium playing. I just think back to our final, Zebes, and if that place had fans in it, it would have been probably one. Don't get me wrong, it was one of the best times of my life. Sorry, Zebes.
About Bristol, I was working that game, so I was there as well, man. It was amazing.
I just think it would have been even better. So it's just unfortunate the stage we're in, but like you said, to have fans there, to have the shirts there around. And obviously, when I went into New Zealand, it's such a big rugby country that you couldn't go anywhere without seeing a Lions shirt, and it does make it a lot different for the better, obviously.
What's your greatest memory of a fan interaction, Jack?
What about the laps of the pitch after games, like on tour?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Obviously when I played in the games I played in, it was pretty special for me that I'd always see a Cornish flag in no matter what stadium I was playing in. So to think that someone's travelled all the way out from Cornwall, not because I'm there, but the fact that they just love rugby as well, and to see that flag in the stadium was pretty cool. So there was a lot of people that did have family and friends out there as well. to be able to see them in the crowd, it definitely makes it a bit more special.
Jamie, what makes the Lions family and fans so special when you compare it to, say, the international or club fans?
I think it's so unique for, well, you know how unique the Lions is, players coming together from different countries to play together, but it's the same for fans. Like, it's so unique in the fact that these fans are opposite sides of the stadium a few months previous in the Six Nations, and now they're supporting a common cause. That is so unique in the world of sport. I don't think it's replicated in the world of sport, fans coming together like that. So, and it's amazing. And you're touring some of the best rugby countries in the world. And this year is the best. Like South Africa, whether international travel will happen this year, probably doubtful. But, South Africa, my dad came on the tour in 2009, and, it's the best tour he would have been on as a fan. So rich culturally, and even New Zealand, Australia, go to these countries as supporters. They're so unique. It's not like going to Paris for a Six Nations game or going to Dublin for a Six Nations game. It's touring for weeks on end, maybe a month, 6 weeks, and really experiencing a country in the Southern Hemisphere, which has a rich rugby heritage. So it's so unique. It's so unique. A lot of fans, a lot of my mates have done those tours, and they say they're the best holidays, best tours they've ever had in their life.
Jack, you won the Premiership and the European Cup double last year with Exeter, which is a hell of an achievement. But what made that even more impressive was it turned out that you had played both finals with a snapped ligament in your foot. What happened there?
It sucked, to be honest. Sucked pretty big time. I actually snapped my turf toe. And I snapped both the ligaments underneath my foot in the semi-final against Toulouse. So I think that was 3 weeks prior to it. And I thought I'd snapped the bottom of my boot. I didn't feel any pain or anything. It was weird. And I kind of hit the floor, looked across the physio, and I thought, I've snapped my boot. Like, can you get me a new one? And I looked at my boot and it's fine. So I've got up and I've tried running, and I'm thinking, oh God, here we go. I've done something here. Anyway, finished the game, come into the change room, they've assessed it, and it's, the physios do their tests and they sit you on the bed, and I could just see the look in their eyes straight away that they're like, this is not good. It's not ideal. So, straight away then I'm thinking, do you know what? I've kind of played my last game now. I've got these 3 big games because we had a semi-final of the Premiership coming up the week after. And I was like, do you know what? It's the first time. It's a dream of mine. It's the first time we've ever done this as a club. To get to this far, and I'm going to miss out on it. So, it was a couple of days where I was like, proper dark, a bit like, it's done. But I spoke to the surgeon. He was like, you need an op, 100%, but you're not going to do any damage by playing on it. So it's completely up to you. So, there was a bit of light there, but the pain I was in was undescribable. It was absolutely horrible. So I missed that semi-final week against Bath the week after. So that was like a down week when I was in a boot. And I think prior to our game, Zebes, I trained on the Wednesday for about 10 minutes, see if I could do it. My toe was strapped pretty heavily. I took a stud out in my boot to try and help it as well. And I kind of just gripped my teeth for 80 minutes.
Had a few cans of Red Bull, and the rest is history.
A few cans of Red Bull. Watched Zebes score in the corner a couple of times. But it was mental. And I was so happy that the physios were able to get me through it. It was a pretty scary couple of weeks, but one, I was happy that I got through. But I'm kind of thinking about it a bit more now, because it's obviously taken me a bit longer to get back and to recover from the surgery that I had. And they're all looking at me saying, well, it's your fault. You're the one that decided to play. But, I wouldn't have changed it for anything.
Fair play. That's some pain threshold you have.
Yeah, that's
I'd be out for months.
I actually got smoked in the game as well. I cut my head open. But when I did that, I tried going into a ruck and I got hit backwards, and I did the exactly same thing to my foot. And I was like, that was the worst stage. But you know what adrenaline is like? Adrenaline's the best drug.
Yeah.
Jack, hypothetical. Would you have traded having surgery a few weeks earlier to be able to take part in the Six Nations but not played in those finals for Exeter?
100% not. No.
Yeah.
I've said that before. Don't get me wrong. Getting your first cap for your country is special. It's something that no one can ever take away from you. But until last year, I still said that my highlight of my career so far was probably winning the Premiership for the first time with Exeter, where we beat Wasps.
Just because I know if it wasn't for my team, if it wasn't for the lads that I play with every single week, I wouldn't have played for England. I wouldn't have gone on a Lions tour, and stuff like that wouldn't have even happened. So I know that there's boys in that team that unfortunately will never get as far as what I've done and what I've achieved. But to be able to celebrate that and to be able to see the faces of the lads that have done that, and that is like the highest they'll ever reach and the highest they'll ever achieve. And to be able to do that with those boys, and like I said, to see their faces and see the joy after was special. I've been at the club since I was 17. So like I said, if it weren't for those boys coming through, I definitely wouldn't have got any caps or any Lions tours or anything like that. So to be able to do that with them and pay back a little bit of that was definitely the most special time that I've had.
Can you explain to us the hospital bed setup you had on the Lions tour after a night out?
I don't really remember a lot about it, to be honest. I do remember briefly. I don't remember what night it was actually, but it was the stage where it was me, Ian Henderson, Rory Best, Hask was there. There's a couple of others. Tommy Seymour was there, and we had been out for 2 days before, and we were like, you know what? Let's just stay in the hotel. We'll get a load of crates in, and we literally sat around the table for the whole night and the whole day. Sorry, I think it was day. It was definitely daylight outside. But we were basically taking a mick out of Rory, saying how old he was, so we better get him a bed down. So we wheeled down a bed, put him in it. He fell asleep. We put him outside. We were trying to wheel him down the hill, which probably wasn't the best idea at the time, but it was funny to us. Anyway, we came back in, and that bed was there still. So I was like, I'm not going to go to my room. I'd rather just stay here. Ended up sleeping on the bed. And it was actually the last meeting before, it was our last meeting on tour. Warren was saying his stuff, and I think I was at the back of the room in the bed still because I hadn't woken up, and they kind of just left me in the bed sleeping whilst we were all having this meeting. So again, it was a bit of a blur, but like Zebe said earlier, do you know what, meeting the lads and it is a proper tour. That's the best way to explain it. There's so many tours and games you play now, so professional, and you've always got to make sure you're at your best. But with a tour like that, it's end of the season, you've got so many cast players that you get to know and get to play with. It's kind of just trusted on the boys, isn't it? Would you say that it's trusted on the lads just to go out there and do the job? But then you do get to enjoy it as well at the same time. So those last 3 days were a blur, but genuinely probably one of the best times of my life.
And I suppose to jump kind of to the present now. So when you were making your comeback from an injury, you suffered another warming up against Sale. I think you did touch off it earlier, but can you just tell us maybe when you're hoping to be back fully fit?
I'm hoping. So I done a couple of running sessions this week already. So I had a 13 centimeter tear in the middle of my hammy, I think. They said it was pretty big. But I'm 3.5 weeks post doing that now. So I'm running, I'm doing a few bits. I've run twice, got another session this week. So I'm hoping that I'll only be a couple more weeks now, because in my head, if I'm running now, there's not much more I need to do to be able to play. So I think Rob is a bit hesitant about putting me in and chucking me in like they did last time. But again, that was my fault. I wanted to play. I wanted to try and get back for the last 2 games in Six Nations. So, I'm probably the only one that's to blame for doing that. But, I'm feeling good and I'm desperate just to try and get back on the field, to be honest.
Have you had any encouraging words from Gatland or his team?
No.
Yeah, he texted him last week.
No, definitely not. It's very simple.
Jack, I need you back in the hospital bed, mate, for this. Pick this on that, Gats.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure I'm good value on the piss, but I don't know about that. But for me, it's pretty obvious what I need to do. I think I don't really want to look too far ahead. I kind of just want to stay fit. It's a big ask for me at the moment. So that's what I want to do. I want to try and just get back in the Chief shirt, to be honest. And we've got some massive games coming up. So, I'm desperate to go on another tour. I think it'd be class, but the way I'm going to do that is just playing well for my club at the moment. Because obviously I know Six Nations is gone, but we've got these big games coming up. So hopefully I can get fit and I can perform in them, and I can try and pick up some form again.
Well, look, let's go back to New Zealand on that amazing Lions tour. You played 2 out of 3 of the tests and came away with a draw against the best team in the world. So when you look back on those few weeks, what would be some of your standout memories?
I'm not too sure. I honestly don't reckon I could put it down to one thing. I think I know myself that I didn't perform at the best of my ability at the start of the tour, which kind of maybe let me down a little bit. I think massively let me down. I think, you know, I was in good form before, and I've come on the tour, and I don't know if I relaxed or I thought, you know, I'm never going to get a test start. I don't know what it was, to be honest, but I just knew I wasn't playing good rugby at the time. I think it was the Chiefs game. I thought, you know what, I'm on this tour. I don't want to look back in a few years' time and think I haven't made the most of it. So it wasn't almost just like flicking it. I had a pretty good concentration going into that game of what I wanted to do, and I wanted to try and just play what I can, you know, do what I can normally do on the field. So, you know, I tried to make the most of that game, and I think when after that was the second test where I was on the bench for that one, and you know, that's the one thing that, you know, flicked in my mind a little bit when I got the nod, when I knew I was on the bench. It was a bit like, yeah, like I want to try and, you know, make the most of this now. So, but trying to put it down onto one thing, I just think the whole tour, and until you've witnessed it, until you've experienced it, it's I was in the unknown massively. I didn't know what to expect, but you know, genuinely, it is one of the best times that I've had. And everything, what Zebe said, from the, you know, the fines, from just getting to know the boys. There was boys that I knew that I played against in the Six Nations, but until you're actually in the team with them, until you speak to them properly, you don't know what they're like. And getting to know all these lads was pretty cool.
And look, after you drawn that last epic match to finish the series, did both squads kind of go out for a few beers together that night? Like, how does that work? Do you socialise afterwards, or?
I don't think we did, to be honest. I can't remember. I don't think we did. I think we kind of just...
You had a few nights on it. You can't remember anything.
Yeah, honestly, like this is what I really enjoyed, the fact that you do have a few nights on it, and you don't know whether it's morning, whether it's daytime, whether it's the next night. I think I was in, you know, you get your suits, like we had the red suits, and they're proper nice. I think I was in that for 2 days. Genuine. It wasn't until I got back to the hotel, and I don't know what time it was. I was like, oh God, I better have a shower now, to be honest. But,
were you in the suit in the business class bar on the flight home?
No, I didn't make it that far, because I actually ran down a bowling alley and slid on my back. So I had to take my suit off.
There we are.
Oh God. Oh dear.
But it genuinely is class, like, because it is the end of the season for all the boys as well. And then to go from such a high like that, and then to be able to actually, because you do have a few beers mid-tour and like with each other, but everyone knows that you can't properly let go, like, because you have got a game, you have got training the next day. So to see boys properly let go, is you see a different side to lads.
Jack, in the most recent World Cup in Japan, unfortunately, you had a whole host of health problems in the build-up, and then
Both World Cups. I've not enjoyed any of them.
You haven't had the best of luck at all, have you?
This World Cup was shocking. Like, honestly, I didn't know what I was doing.
The dressing room after the final game in Japan, what was the feeling like?
It was a bit of a weird one, because obviously when you're not involved, we were in the stands watching, and we didn't know whether we wanted to crack open the beers then and have a few whilst enjoying it, or whether we should wait for the team and then do it properly. But obviously when you're not involved, you're in the stand, then we always get into the change rooms before the lads, and it was a bit of a weird one. Like, the buzz from the New Zealand game the week before was obviously up there with some of the best you're going to have, because, and rightly so, like, the boys played class in that game. It was one of the best games of rugby that I think England have played. So to go from that buzz there, but then when just the final, like, we were never really in that game, especially watching, and then boys playing felt it as well. You know, South Africa were very, very good in that final, and they deserved to win. So it was a bit of a downer in the change room. It was the fact that you've come so far in the tournament, and then to fall at the final hurdle. That initial bit when we were all together was a bit, you know, boys were a bit gutted, but, you know, typical rugby players, you know, you dust it off, you speak about the good times, you get a couple of beers down you, and then you enjoy just your time being together, because it's a big impact that it has on you being together for that long, and being at your best for that long as well. So, you know, to decompress that, and after, you know, we soon forgot about it and started enjoying a few smiles on faces again.
Was there one kind of player in particular that was responsible for maybe picking the guys up and, you know, organising a night out to celebrate the achievement of reaching that final that evening? Or
yeah, I think Billy Vunipola is always a good person to speak to, because, whether we win, lose, draw, whatever, he's always one of the main guys to be like. I think it was actually him that said, "Do you know what, guys? It's a game of rugby." I know it's probably one of the biggest games of rugby we play, but at the end of the day, it is a game of rugby. We've come this far. Let's just enjoy it now for what it is, and we are actually together. We are actually allowed to be here now, so let's do it. And then you obviously got your social sex to sort stuff out. So it is, and rightly so, you have your couple of hours of being down and being gutted because you have to, because it shows how important it was for the boys. But at the same time, you've got to quickly forget about it and move on. There's nothing you can do about it then. So, I'm always one for enjoying a few beers after a game. So, as soon as you can get on it, the better.
And what was the night out in Yokohama like?
Awesome. I loved Japan. I thought it was so good. Again, very messy. What was quite cool was that we went back to, we obviously had our bus back to the hotel. We got back to the hotel, we chilled for a little bit, had a couple of drinks. But then the team actually sorted out a place for all our families to come to, where we could all sit around the table, meet each other's families, say hello, and all have a few drinks together. So I think our first night was literally like that, which was class, because I hadn't seen my parents for a long time. Prior to that, they flew out, which was cool. So to be able to have a couple of beers with my old man, a couple of my mates' family as well was pretty sick, to be honest. And then the rest of it, then they obviously went back to the hotels or flew home, whatever, and we had a couple more days to have a few ciders.
We will let you go, Jack. Thank you so much for coming on today. You've been amazing.
No worries. Thank you very much for having us, guys.
Mate, Jack, good luck with it.
Jack.
Yeah, and best of luck with the recovery.
Yeah, see you in Monaco Grand Prix, mate.
Yeah, we'll all go. Zeebs, I hope I don't see you in another final, mate.
Yeah, you too, bro. Teeth.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. I'll speak to you later.
Jack.
Good man, Jack. Good to see you. Ciao.
All right, so in partnership with the all-new Isuzu D-Max, it is time to pick our unsung hero of the week. So someone who went about their work under the radar, put in a real shift, and was key to their team's success. Our fans have had their say and have voted for Virmi Vakatawa as their unsung hero of the week. So, Zeebs, what's he like as a person and to play with?
One of the best players in the world, for a start, for sure. If not the best. And as a person, he's a great fella. I'd be very good friends with him. He's quiet, loves to have a joke, loves to play around. He's a great guy after a few beers as well. But yeah, he's a lovely fella, and he's incredibly talented. He can do anything on the rugby pitch, but he's a very humble guy, very hardworking, and top quality.
And then just on that, I suppose, who stood out for you this weekend?
Maybe Tyg Byrne. I didn't mention him in the Lions 15, but he's right there knocking on the door, He's been class this tournament, and I think he's really put his hand up to get on the plane and to push on. But he was pivotal, I think, to Ireland's success. He's so good on the ground. He's a huge engine, and he carries real hard. So I thought he was a big player for Ireland in the pack this weekend, and the pack was really, really dominant over England. So he'll be my unsung hero for the week.
And Jamie, what about you?
I'm going to go with Josh Navidi. I know Wales lost in Paris, but as a Welshman, I just think he's been immense. Actually, he's been out for quite a while with concussion issue, and I never expected him to reach the heights he has this tournament after being out for so long. He's been immense, and certainly forced his way into that Lions conversation. I mean, the back row is going to be hugely competitive, but he's been amazing for Wales the last few weeks. In Paris, he was phenomenal. Just really strong ball carrying, his defensive work rate, his ability of the ball was brilliant. And, we're very quick, I think, in Wales to laud, Talupe Faletau, Justin Tipperick, but Navidi has arguably been, the best back row of this campaign. So, Josh Navidi for me.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. And thanks to Isuzu for their support. So if you head to isuzu.co.uk, you'll be the first to test drive the all-new, smarter, stronger and safer Isuzu D-Max. That is it from us. Thanks to Jack Nowell, Simon Zebo and Jamie Roberts. And thanks to you for listening. More offloading next week. So make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts so you get it as soon as it's released. Leave us a rating and review if you can. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube as well. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a million. Sorry for being late as well, but thank you.